Hello, everybody. Today, I wanted to talk about mistakes, and I actually got to this topic because I was working on my abstracto video, which is coming out like in a couple of days. And in that video, I talk about delirium disorder. And delirium disorder is basically the belief that you think you're right when you're actually wrong. So it's when you make mistakes, but these are persistent mistakes, or even they tend to turn eventually into beliefs. So they're just overall wrong or incorrect or incomplete beliefs, which takes me to my definition of mistake or error. Now, in this video, I'm going to be distinguishing between error and mistake, but let's just say for now they're the same thing. So a mistake is basically, for me, something that is incomplete or not on target, right? You're always trying to be on target, you're trying to be certain about things, and you're trying to feel good after you do that, right? With whatever it is you do, you're trying to be complete. So anything that falls short of that unity is a mistake. It's incomplete. It feels wrong. There's something missing. I could have done things differently, right? If we look at all the quantum potentials that we have as we go forward in life, we see that we have many different possibilities, many different choices. And when we say, "Oh, I made a mistake," it's because I went down a path that I shouldn't have. I took a choice, or I made a choice that I shouldn't have, right? Because now that after you make that choice, you see that you could have made a better one, or another one that could have possibly made you feel more complete. Okay, now as I was searching, I came across this very interesting diagram that I'm gonna put in the image here, and it's called types of images, right? So we have four, and it was very interesting to me. It instantly drew my attention because I was like, "What's this about?" So it's an article. It's on Mindshift, and it's called understanding why understanding these four types of mistakes can help us learn. So they basically explain four types of mistakes, and they start off by basically telling us that not all mistakes are created equal. So there are differences between mistakes, right? And this is very interesting because basically a mistake is going to help you improve your life, right? After you make a mistake, you want to make sure that you don't repeat that mistake again. So you need to know what type of mistakes are out there and how to actually use them through reflection and through extraction of the lessons that are there from the experience, and how to have that help you improve, right? So it says mistakes are desirable, or I at least think they should be desirable to a certain point, and they should be appreciated. They should not only be appreciated, but they should be expected. You need to expect mistakes in your life, especially when you're on the road of growth and learning and maturing, right? And it basically boils down to overcoming the fear of making mistakes. Many people are afraid to make mistakes, but there's a quote here that says something like, it's better to make mistakes than to not make them, right? It's better to live a life full of mistakes than to live a life where you did nothing, right? And so we need to know what are the different types of mistakes so we can make the right ones, so to say, right? So there are four types. The first one is called stretch. The second one is called aha moments. The third one is called sloppy, and the fourth one is called high stakes. So let's go with the first one. The first one in the graph is the one that you see on the top right-hand side, and it's called a stretch mistake. So a stretch mistake happens when you're attempting to expand your abilities, when you're consciously and really effortlessly, or I don't know how you say that, but when you're actually trying to learn something. So if you see, we have an x-axis and a y-axis, and the y-axis says learning opportunity. It goes from high to higher, and the x-axis goes from low to high, and it's based on intentionality. So intentionality means that you're trying. So this is when you really have a high learning opportunity, and you also have a high intentionality level, which means that you're actually trying to learn things, right? In this case, the mistakes that you're making are not on purpose. they're basically, and I wouldn't really say they're ever on purpose, but the key thing here is that they are accidents or byproducts of the learning process that you're undertaking, right? It says in the article that they are positive and they are necessary for knowledge. Now, there is a downside, which is if we keep repeating them, we may need to readjust or adjust our current approach, or maybe even undertake a new approach, because what we've been doing is kind of the definition of crazy, right? You keep repeating the same thing over and over again, keep making the same mistake, and you're expecting different results, but that's not really happening. Now, here there's an interesting idea, which is the ZPD, or the zone of proximal development, which was introduced by Lev Vygotsky. He was a psychologist from Russia. And this just means that basically you need to look for that which is just a little bit above your level of current knowledge. So if you're learning something, don't go and learn like the most advanced stuff, right? Like start off with, like, if you're just starting, start off with the basics, right? If you kind of know the basics, then maybe move on to the intermediate stuff, right? If you already know the intermediate stuff and you already have it down, then you can maybe move on to the more advanced stuff, right? So yeah, these are mistakes that are generated because things are challenging, right? Now we have on the top left-hand side, aha moments. If you notice, we're still in the learning opportunity higher range, but now the intentionality is low. And I don't know why the article starts out with stretch mistakes. Maybe it closes off with high stake mistakes, and then it says that we may need to make more stretch mistakes. But I actually think aha moment mistakes are, by definition, the first type of mistakes that as a human species we most likely did. And these aha mistakes are when you're trying to do something or you're trying to solve a problem, but you end up causing a bigger mess or a bigger problem or a bigger disaster. So you obviously learn from these mistakes, but you learn from them accidentally. That is, you're not really trying to learn something. You're trying to solve a problem, or you're doing whatever you're doing, and then all of a sudden there's the knowledge, right? There's the experience, there's the mistake. But that's accidental, right? It's not like stretch mistakes where you're actually training or you're learning consciously and with high intentionality, because in this case we have low intentionality or low, you're trying, right? You're not really trying in this case. So yeah, some examples here are like, if there's a fire and there's no water and you throw alcohol into the fire trying to put it out, right? Which is only going to cause a bigger fire. So we genuinely lack knowledge here. We make incorrect assumptions about things, and this could be directly tied with delirium disorder also. We really don't have the whole picture, and we're making decisions, we're doing things, and we're making mistakes, right? So this is the article also says, like, for example, when you think someone needs help, so you offer your help to that person and that person gets angry or something, right? So it's like you don't really know how to calibrate maybe that person or that person's or that person's personality, right? So you could reflect on this and kind of ask yourself, like, what was expected or what was unexpected in the situation, because that's where the real learning takes place, and the aha mistakes. Now we're gonna drop down to the bottom left-hand side quadrant, and sloppy mistakes have low or relatively high compared to the higher learning opportunity access, but they have low intentionality. So again, we're not really trying to learn anything, like in the aha moments. We're not trying to make these mistakes, but these mistakes are going to appear or happen when we already know what to do, how to do it, but due to loss of concentration, we make these mistakes. Now, these are the real mistakes, and this is where I'm going to distinguish between error and mistake. And error happens when you lack the knowledge, when you don't have it. So we can say that the higher opportunity moments, which are the aha moments and the stretch mistakes, where when you make those type of mistakes, those aren't really mistakes, those are errors because you don't really have the knowledge. A mistake happens when you have the knowledge but you still mess up, you still screw up, or you still get things wrong, right? In this case, the sloppy mistakes are the real mistakes, and this is the typical "I'm only human" mistake, right? Like maybe you let something pass your mind, something, you weren't really focusing, you weren't concentrating. So in the article, it says that these can be turned into aha moments by gaining insight into how you can improve, right? Like if you're getting distracted a lot, maybe you can actually learn how not to get distracted, and that will lead to an aha moment, to an aha mistake, or it will turn into an aha mistake instead of a sloppy mistake, right? Okay, and the last one, which I found a little bit hard to understand, is a high stakes mistake. And these are mistakes that are basically done in dangerous situations. So you don't really want to be making these type of mistakes because the intentionality is high, so you're really trying, but the learning is low. I don't really get why it's low. So these are like experiments that could lead to potential physical harm, or they could just be really high performance events like taking the SATs, taking a very important exam, maybe going to a very important job interview, because the outcomes from here have various ramifications, or they have ramifications that are going to alter ultimately your life path, right? So these could be potential life-changing mistakes. So yeah, performance events, and by post-reflecting is how you can learn, right? So you may need to go back and do some more stretch mistakes to learn and improve, and then get better at those high performance events where the stakes are high, right? Okay, and then it basically ends up by saying learning from mistakes is not automatic. So it's not like you just make a mistake and you learn. You actually have to ponder and deliberately think about it and reflect and extract the lessons. This is what Eduardo Briceño says in the article. And for me, I was thinking about all this, and I kind of came to the conclusion where, like, stretch mistakes, you're trying to learn, right? Like taking a course in programming, aha moment mistakes, you learn by accident, so you're not really trying. You do something like trust someone and they betray you, right? So you're like, oh, I made a mistake. Like I hired this lawyer, I paid him, and then he didn't do the work. Kind of like what happened to me, and I talked about it in my videos of I'll do it on Monday, and I'll do it on Monday section. You have the sloppy mistakes, which are the true mistakes, right? Like putting your cell phone in the refrigerator or something like that, right? Because you're not really concentrating. And then you have the high stake mistakes, which I think is like a police officer shooting an innocent person, or the wrong person, or maybe even arresting the wrong person, right? So here in high stake mistakes, you're given the responsibility, but you may also lack the knowledge. So you may have to go back again to make stretch and aha moment mistakes, right? Or you may just straight up be unlucky and or you may have made a bad judgment call, right? So I think these are pretty interesting. Like I mentioned, I think the aha moments would have been the ones that as a species, I think would have been the first ones that we experienced. I think a lot of people, in my experience, as I started to make more stretch mistakes, where I gotta be honest, I don't really feel like I make mistakes or a lot of mistakes. But again, it's about perception. It's about thinking that you're hitting the target, you're hitting the bullseye, you're completing, or you feel that completion. So maybe I just lack more peripheral factors or variables, right? But yeah, like the aha moments is when you just naturally learn, right? And maybe thanks to that natural ability of learning, or that natural capacity we have as humans of learning, then we start to consciously make an effort to learn. And that's when we go or gear towards the stretch mistakes, right? Sloppy mistakes, like the name says it, are just straight up, sloppy. Like that's lack of concentration, lack of sleep, you're hungry, you're angry, whatever. You weren't concentrating. And then high stake mistakes, those are the type of mistakes where a lot's on the line, a lot's going to be affected, right? So I think this helps a little bit because I think, a lot of people say through mistakes we learn, right? Through the experience and the mistakes we make in life, we learn. A lot of old people say, if I could go back in time, I would make more mistakes, I would learn more, right? I would live more. So I think that's what it's about, right? It's about learning, and just the fact that there are different ways to make mistakes also points to the fact that there are different ways of learning things, right? So obviously you can learn something by accident, not even trying to learn it, or you can learn something by making a conscious effort, right? So yeah, I thought that's what I talk about in this video. Let me know what you think. Let me know if you think any of these types of mistakes are worthwhile in your life, or just for some knowledge to share. And I guess I'll see you in the next video. Peace.